All right, so we want to begin our shattered value project. So the first thing we need to do is figure out what is going to be our central image, our central object on our paper. And for us, remember, we're working small, so you don't have to make this huge. I'm going to use a template to make my life much easier. You guys could use a soup can, whatever you want. I'm going to be kind of simple, and I'm just going to trace my stencil in the center of my paper. So as soon as I do that here, I will show it to you. Now sometimes people, when they're using stencils, they'll tape them down so they're not so hard to hold on to. I'm holding on to mine. All right. Okay. So on my paper, I've got a stencil. So I took my piece of paper and I traced it. Okay? So the next thing that we have to decide, okay? And see, I mean, that took what? 10 seconds? So that's what I'm saying. If you want to trace something, either by using a stencil or a can of soup or whatever, blocks, Legos, you can trace whatever you want, okay? Now, the next thing that I have to decide is where in this piece of paper is our rock going to hit it? Or where is the glass going to shatter, okay? Now, if you put it dead center, that's not wrong, but sometimes it looks cooler if it's off to the side a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a decision to put my dot right here, okay? So basically what I just did is I put a dot on the paper, kind of big, okay? And that's the first thing I'm going to do. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line it up with the dot, and I'm going to start almost like the hands of a clock to put lines on this piece of paper, okay? So I made a decision that my dot is going to be here, okay? And now I'm going to line up. I'm going to do all of these, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. And I'm just going to randomly, you know, think of any time you've ever seen a picture where the people draw a picture of the sun and the sun just radiates out. Now, the one thing that I am going to do for sure is I'm going to draw right through my and sign that I made. Okay, I'll show you what I mean in 1 sec. And I'm going to make these random. I'm going to do my best to not have them look perfect. I'm going to kind of make them skinny, make them fat. Okay, so this is going to be your first step after you decide what to draw in the middle. All right, so now we've got on our paper, we've got our symbol that we're going to use. We should have the dot where this thing is fracturing from, and then lines, okay? So what that looks like for you guys, so here's my image here, and then I've got my dot, and then I took my ruler and radiated out from it like the sun. I went right across that image and drew lines right through it. All right, so that's our next step, setting this up. Now, in a lot of the examples that I showed you folks, the one thing that I think is really nice is when the background is a different size than your image when you break this up again. So what I mean by that is I'm going to make the background have like big sections is what I'm going to do. So let me do that in a couple of places. And again, you want to kind of be random about this, all right? You don't want to make it look perfect. So think of each of those like rays that you did as its own little slice of pizza or its own little area to be dealt with. Okay. Now I am also going to purposefully stay out of where my object is. And I'll explain to you why I'm going to do that. So as I'm dividing these up, I need another section here. Okay, so we're here, here, here. So we got 2 more sections I got to do here, and I'll show you what this looks like. Do one more right here. And put one more right here. All right. So on the paper, I really was just dealing with the stuff behind my symbol, okay? So I've broken that up randomly, but kind of paid attention to each wedge section, okay? So if I show that to you up here, so see how I've got my symbol in the middle, here's my rays that come out, and then I went back into each little wedge and I broke it up again. And then in this wedge over here, it's broken up here and here, okay? So see how these spaces are very big. They're really wide open, okay? And I think in the examples that we saw, when people had done that to their designs, they looked really nice. So here's your next step. After you do that part, now I'm going to break up the part where the symbol is, but I'm going to make the little sections smaller, okay? So let me go ahead and do that, and then I will show you what that looks like. Okay. And I'll show you why it makes a difference when you change the scale, right? And when we talk about in art, scale means size, not how much you weigh. So as these sections become smaller, they're going to be more visible. All right, almost done. My point is what I'm showing you, and of course I've done this before, so of course you can sit there and say, well, you've done this before, of course you know how to do it quickly, but this isn't taking me a lot of time. I think the biggest thing is just making the decision about what your image is going to be. All right, so I'll get ready to show this to you in a sec. So now I've got my image, which is the thing I stenciled. I broke that up into smaller pieces. So now when I show you this, you'll be able to see those pieces a little bit easier than the bigger pieces in the back, okay? So let me show you guys this. So now I've got those big areas here, okay? And then see how you can read this better? You can see this because it's smaller, right? So these smaller sections stand out away from the background. Okay? So this is the first step for you to get to with the shattered value, okay? So that's your starting point.